All right, guys, we are going to call this meeting of the Nottingham Board of Selects for Monday, November 22nd. We're first going to start the meeting off with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so we'll first start off with the minutes. Did everybody, I'll abstain from the minutes on the 15th because I wasn't here, but make a motion for the minutes of November 11th and November 15th.
We'll do it separate,
Okay.
since you're gonna abstain, so I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of November 1, 2021.
I wasn't here.
All right, so-
Oh, you know what? Then we can't vote on these.
You don't have to abstain if you weren't here.
Okay.
It's not a requirement.
Second. There we go. Motion in a second. All in favor?
Thank you.
Okay.
One abstention.
Yeah, okay. I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of
15th.
Wait, none, you guys, 3 of you were here for the first. You were here.
It was me, you, and Ben.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of 11/15/2021.
Second.
Got a motion in a second. All in favor? And I'll abstain. I know we just went over this all last week, but was there anything new with any from the boards? Marston was same, went through this, budget.
Budget, yeah, they had a meeting on the 18th. They reviewed the town present default budget, had a school update, committee reports, and just talked about their next meeting.
Okay. CIP,
Tomorrow night.
tomorrow night?
Yep.
We have a planning board meeting this coming Wednesday. We said there's nothing on Marston, the 300th.
300th, I wasn't there because I was at budget, but Steve was there.
Steve, anything new to report for the 300th?
Things are moving very nicely. Jay can also talk about it for the bonfire on January 8th. It's gonna be a very nice way to start off the celebration.
Okay. We have no town administrator report, because obviously Chris is not gonna be here tonight. I'm going to move through the, we have no assessing. Action items for review. Looks like those are gonna be going on for the next meeting on the 29th, and is there anything else for action items that, I wasn't, again, not here last meeting, so.
Nope. Nope.
Okay, we are going to move on to, the tax, rate setting.
Yep.
You guys get this, right?
Yep.
Yep.
So the tax rate for the 2021 for Nottingham is the 1942, per thousand. Yeah, let me just go. That is correct, right? Sorry,
I thought it was 1856.
1856, sorry, well, I'm looking at this one, wrong one.
Yep.
My bad, go back and switch that, wrong page. Tax rate for the 2021 for town, school, and county is 1856. Any questions on that, or? I've never proceeded with this, so a little guidance if you guys want to.
You know, I mean, I think the only thing that's worth pointing out, just for people who don't know, is the components that go into the tax rate, right? And the components that go in are, you know, the municipality, which is the town, the local school, the state school, and the county, right? So it's all of those things that make up what or contribute to the tax rate. And that the largest portion of that comes from the school, local school budget, right, the expenditures from the school. So that's just by way of explanation of how that rate sets up.
How does this compare to last year's numbers?
Well, if you look at the stuff that Chris sent, there's a
Do- yeah.
graph.
Oh, okay, there it is.
So basically, there's two schools of thoughts here. One school of thought is that you take money from the general fund and you reduce the current tax rate. You apply some of the general fund dollars to reduce the tax rate. That results in a one-time reduction in taxes, and in fact, that was done in 2017.
Right.
So that's one. One of the things that influences that is that there's a range that the DRA recommends that you have, that you hold, kind of for lack of a better term, as your rainy day fund. And that's in the event that something catastrophic happens that you need to have funds for. And right now, we are about smack dab in the middle of that range.
Didn't that range just increase by them?
Yeah, it might have. The range is kind of like 8 to 17%. So I don't have the exact number of where we are, but, we're kind of in the middle there. So one school of thought is use general fund money to make a short-term reduction in a single year, which kind of artificially makes the next year look like a tax increase, right? If you're looking at it year to year. The other school of thought is that you use general fund, you have the option of using general fund dollars to offset certain expenditures, right? So, for example, we could look at doing something like paying down the debt of Mulligan,
That's what the,
which would then have a longer term impact beyond this 1 year in reduction of the overall tax rates, right? There are other things, that could be looked at as well. There's some, expenditures in the budget this year that, have been requested by, like, say, the police department, for example. So we could use the funds to offset some of those expenses that would have longer term impact versus the 1 year short impact. So those are the two schools of thought on it.
that seemed to be the census of the budget committee, pay down debt,
Was it?
yeah. This is what I got out of it.
Yep.
Oh,
Oh, I said that's what it seemed like at the budget committee meeting, they were talking, that they'd like to see some debt paid down.
yeah, and according to here, just, the 2021 fund balance retention guidelines for Nottingham as deliberated from the state is that we are currently at, this doesn't include the, I believe Marston, not Marston,
USA
the
Springs.
USA Springs mount, but we were at 1.5 million roughly. And to make 17, which is the maximum, they asked to us to hold back would be $3 million, so we're not there, but with Marston's, we will fall in that, 10 to 15% range, which will be close to where we should be.
Yeah, and I mean, in all the time that I've been on the board, and I can't remember with Mary what it was when she was here either, but we were never intending to be at the top range of that.
Right.
It was always, we were always kind of like, if we're, in the middle point of that, we felt that that was appropriate
Yeah.
for Nottingham.
I always believe that using money that's in the fund to spend on town expenditures was more important than to spend, to give a small relief of a tax break for a short period of time where you could save money on projects by not having interest and stuff like that accumulate by spending that money towards that, so,
So it's a longer term savings.
exactly.
Yep, impacts the tax rate longer term.
That was for paying down debt as opposed to just paying down to lower the tax rate.
Yeah, I
Is that what
mean,
you were saying?
Right, exactly,
exactly,
exactly.
because debt is reoccurring every
Right,
year, right?
and it's long-term,
Correct.
as opposed to just
Yeah.
this year.
Yeah, and I forget what the number is, but there's still, money owed on Mulligan.
What other debts do we have besides Mulligan that,
There isn't, I don't believe there's much, it's in the, I think Mulligan is the biggest. But then there are also, different expenditures, like I know you haven't, I know the CIP committee is working, but that would be the other thing to do, is to look at what the big expenditures would be coming down the pipe from the CIP. I think there's debt on the fire station too, that potentially we could look at that. So like the debt, if I'm reading this correctly, the debt amount from Mulligan this year is 42,500, if I'm reading that correctly. So, that's the fundamental question for this board, do we wanna take that short-term, one hit reduction, or do we wanna look at the longer game and try to think about how we're impacting it, not just this year, but in the next couple of years?
You said it's 42,000 for the year for Mulligan, or?
Well, the total debt was like 318, or 400 for the life of it. So, it's significant.
I don't know, I think I'd like to see a more long-term benefit out of that. It'll help stabilize tax rates, I mean, at a smaller amount, sure, but over a longer period of time.
Yep.
Instead of seeing a bigger significant increase, usually when we buy it down, next year, it could be doubled,
Right,
right? You see
right.
that larger increase, it's a short-term savings right now.
Yeah, and I mean, the other thing about it too is that it's kind of like, your biggest bang from the buck doesn't come with a short-term reduction on the town budget, right?
Right.
Because it's the school budget that's the biggest portion of it, and granted, there's a lot that they can't control,
Correct?
but the town budget isn't the biggest bang there,
Right.
yeah.
But the things we can control that are long-term oriented, I mean, the biggest ones for us is debt service.
Or other large purchases.
So do we have to come up with, like, what debts we would wanna pay off tonight?
No, the only decision tonight is do we use general fund to reduce the tax rate for the current year or not? That is the only question tonight. And then we can have a further conversation about what we wanna do there. Which I think we are, it sounds like we're all committed to that.
Your thoughts, Tyler?
I mean, I wouldn't mind, like I said, debt, if we could pay that Mulligan down substantially, which I don't see why we couldn't, with what's owed, that would be a good thing to get it off the books.
Yep.
So we're all in favor of basically using, any extra money in the fund to pay off debts, rather than buy down the rate?
I would say so.
So just to keep it clean, I'll make a motion that we do not use fund balance dollars to adjust this year's tax rate, favoring instead looking at what we can do for longer term debt reduction and other major purchases.
Do we wanna open this up to the public for comment?
Your call.
Anybody have any comment about what we're talking about?
have a question.
Sure.
Could you give us the figures for the town, school, and county broker? That'd be helpful. That gives us the 1856.
Did you get this done? Did you guys take a peek at that? I didn't have it in my folder. Saw it at Ben's. But it's the first time I saw it, since I'm going through this stuff, not mine.
Yeah, actually, I think you're right, it was the 19th.
I think it was.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's Chris's email where he explained
Yeah.
the fund balance from last year that is rolled over. That reduces it by $1.55 amount. Oh, and then less the amount voted from fund balance at
Yeah.
town meeting,
Yeah.
so.
It's basically, I don't wanna give you the wrong numbers, Mary Ann, I'm trying to,
Yeah, take your time.
yeah, look at it. 58, 19, okay, so the number is 1942, not 1856, okay?
Is it really?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
And, the town is 3.58. The state, no, I'm sorry, the local school is 13.32.
What was the first one again?
Town, municipal, us,
What was your number?
3.58. School, local school, 13.32. State school, 1.73, and then county is 0.79.
What was county again?
Okay, town, 3.58. Local school, 13.32. State school, 1.73. And then county is 0.79.
For a total of 1942.
Adds up to 1942?
Yeah. Yep. So that's, so you can see the bulk of it where it is, right?
Yeah, really, exactly.
Yep.
Follow-up question.
Sure.
When we were doing the budgets back in the day, and when we bought Mulligan, those sorts of things, we figured we would have those amounts on the books for a while. The interest rates were really good, and they still are. And so, what we would do with the fund balance is pay down the, tax rate. We would use the whole fund balance, and just bring it down to a reasonable amount. And keep the debt, because it wasn't, with the interest rates being as low as they were, it really wasn't a, I don't know, if paying it off would help people in the long run. That was always a big debate that we had.
Still debating it now?
I know, it's not easy, but we, after a lot of consultation and soul searching, we always came up with using a bit of the fund balance, not so that you get a real low tax rate this year and then you'll hit next year, just to ease the pain.
Yeah, I mean,
Over a long period of time, the fund balance is there for an emergency.
Yep.
So you don't wanna get, and a lot of it is not liquid. So you don't wanna go beyond the liquidity of course, but you
yeah, I don't,
use a little bit of it.
I don't remember us doing it when it was you, me, and Mark. I don't recall doing it then, in fact,
Using the fund balance?
yeah,
I don't think we had a very big fund balance at that time.
we might have been trying to build it.
Yes.
Yeah, we might have been trying to build it, yeah.
So again, this is some just a, when you look at our project numbers for the past, like in 2017, when we bought down that rate, it was at $20.95. It went, that was 2017. In 2018, it went up to $22.64. And I remember that.
What are you talking about?
The
Tax rate.
the tax rate,
Okay,
all right? That was, I remember people saying, oh my God, it went up almost $2.
yeah.
It was huge, but people didn't remember the fact that we bought it down the year before.
Exactly.
And then we had all the grief of how much it went at to.
Yeah.
The fact that this year, from where we were at 1876 last year, and the fact that we're at 1942, I mean, we didn't even go up 75 cents.
Yeah,
So, in order to buy it down 75 cents, we gotta spend a lot of money out of our fund balance.
yeah, you don't wanna do that.
Again, I'm saying to bring it down something significant, to bring it down 20 cents, per thousand is not, why give up
Yeah.
200,000 or our fund, out of our balance to our 20-cent savings? We're not saving the taxpayers $1 per thousand, so.
That's small and.
So, that money we think would be, in my opinion, would be spent better, maybe paying off some debts or doing something else with it, and still remaining.
Mulligan or a portion of Mulligan?
We'd have to just talk about
We'd
how
have to have
much,
that conversation.
I mean, we can certainly be strategic about it and pay
Yeah.
down our higher interest debt,
Right.
not necessarily Mulligan,
Exactly.
but,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
we'd have to look at those numbers to see what debts are costing us the most
Yep.
and attack those first, just like you would with your credit cards, right? If you're paying off credit cards, you go after the ones with the highest interest rate first, you know?
Thank you.
Yep.
Take another question.
sure.
The town, when they sold the USA Springs Route 4 property, got $845,000. And the school didn't spend, I don't know the number, I heard it was $400,000. So that means over $1 million, $1.2 in funds that came in this 1 year. And that's all gone into the general fund, so we must have been underfunded in the general fund. How much is in the general fund?
The general fund, it's on that piece, hold on. I got that for you. Our current amount retained, in the general fund right now, without Marston, I believe, is $1,549,000.
USA Springs, I keep saying
I mean,
Marston.
yeah, I keep saying Marston,
too,
I'm
but
so sorry, USA Springs,
Yeah,
So that,
the other big property in town.
so that recommended 16-17% of,
Yeah, if we stayed at 17%, if we retain 17, the maximum they recommend, we need to have 3 million in our fund balance. And the minimum they require, the minimum
17% of what?
for our fund balance retention.
Yeah, but 17% of something equals something.
Oh, annual appropriations, an equivalent amount.
So the 800,000 and the 400, where's the 400,000 that the school didn't spend?
Still in the bank.
I mean, I can't answer that.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
I think that should, when you come to the decision of spending or paying off debt, shouldn't that enter into the equation at the 12 to 400, excuse me, the 845,000?
The 800 definitely will. So the 800 hasn't been, realized as revenue because of the timing of like when they did the reporting and stuff. So the 800 is gonna fall to the unassigned balance at the end of the year. And with that number, that's gonna put us in the middle of the target range from DRA. Okay, so, I think, Gene, the whole thing is we look at the whole thing, right? We look at what money's in the general fund, and that's gonna include USA Springs. I can't answer the question about the school.
I don't know, but again,
That's a good question, though.
for what we pay off or what we decide not to pay off is gonna, I believe, based on what we wanna keep in retention into the fund balance. Cause we're not gonna spend all of it, cause that's not, but whatever we find is a good number we feel safe with keeping as a balance in there. What excess above that is what we're gonna decide on whether what we use to spend off or pay off as a discussion. But that's a discussion we're not having at this time.
What was last year's tax rate? The new one, we
2020 tax rate was 1876.
1876 left. Thank you.
Just a quick question. The 800,000 that we received from USA, the sale of USA Springs, or purchase of it, is part of that 1.5 million that we're estimating is in the fund balance? Or that's gonna be an additional?
It hasn't been recognized in the fund balance yet.
So that would be added to that?
Yep,
Thank you.
yep.
All right, so we have the motion. Are we all set? I'm gonna call that to be ended. You made the motion.
Yep.
Second?
All in favor? Aye.
Okay, so I would capture an action item that says at one of the next meetings, we need to talk about use of the fund balance for, you know.
Debt reduction.
Debt reduction
Debt reduction.
or other you know, major purchases or whatever.
And we'll wanna see interest rates and remaining
Yep,
outstanding balances.
yep, exactly.
When did you have to have this tax rate set on?
Tonight,
Eek.
we've
I
gotta
think it's
go
due
in.
tomorrow, right?
Well, we have to go in tomorrow and sign.
So the tax rate you gave is 19 something, is the one.
Yes,
That's the one we're gonna use.
yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Budget,
Yep. Next item is the 2022 budget.
yeah, I mean, I don't know how much we have to discuss about it unless Tyler has feedback, anything from the budget committee, but basically, we saw a number from the draft that Chris put together that I don't think any of us were wild about. And, well, not because of the job that he did, but just because of it was the first pass of all the needs to have and some nice to haves, and then the next action was for us to start meeting with department heads,
Yep.
so that we can start to go through that.
Right, so we can start talking more about what we need if we have to cut or what.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that the department heads need to think about is maybe a prioritization. You know, and if we said to them, we need you to cut your department budget by X%, then what would they do?
We are coming to that.
And we need to figure out how we can spend every penny that we can of that money that's being given to us, you know, we don't have water and sewer and stuff, but there gotta be ways to be creative and spend that money on.
Oh, you're talking about the ARPA funds?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And those funds are available till 2024.
Yeah.
So we
right,
do have some time
exactly,
to,
exactly.
to
Yeah,
expenditure those, so.
Yep, yep.
And look at that, keeping on with time.
Who's first?
Yeah, I don't know who's
Yeah, it's not
first.
listed who's first. Who wants to go
Who
first?
wants to go first?
Courtney?
Sure.
Come on up.
Sure.
So we're gonna now meet, with the Nottingham Recreation Department and go over.
Still married, Courtney?
Still married. He is recovering from neck surgery as we speak, so it's been a good test, but a test. But he's doing good.
Nice.
Yes, my husband.
We wanted a marriage should happen in Boston, but they wouldn't do it.
Ah, yes. Oh, Steve. All right, do you want me to do a quick overview of what we've been kind of up to first, or do you want
Yes,
me
if
to
you
just
don't mind,
kind of
that'd be
get
great
right
for
in?
people to hear.
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah, so kind of first things first, we have, since I last saw you guys, I think we've had summer and summer camps and all that kind of stuff, and we've resumed pretty much full, which is great. Summer camp, we had about 130 kids, which is kind of where we were at in 2019. So that was really cool, no COVID issues there. Aftercare, we have about 50 kids. The biggest theme right now we're facing is staffing. We cannot find anybody. And a side note to that, our programmer that we hired about 8 months ago just gave his 2 weeks, so we are now looking for an additional person too, and that stuff will kind of come out in the next week or so. But so we are really low staffed. We got 4. Do we have 4 people at aftercare? Yep. 4 and then us. So this has been a weird transition, and I know that across the board with a lot of places, staffing's just hard to find. So we're figuring that out. We're tossing the idea around of maybe doing a volunteer teen program type thing and try to hone back in on some of those volunteer hours to get kids just for some supervision. But we don't know how that's gonna look, and it's making summer look a little nerve-wracking and all that. But we are gonna do the best we can. So with that being said, we had, we did have a really good summer camp. We had a turnover in our supervision. We had some teen staffs that realized they just didn't like working with kids, so it was just kind of one of those years that I think the turnover was there. So looking at next year and hoping that we can keep those numbers up, we have always been open to non-residents. Maybe the new switch would be keeping it just resident only, type of switch if we can't have as many staff members to have as many kids. So that's something we're dealing with every day. So if you know anyone who's looking for a job, we are hiring. So that on a positive note though, we've been able to, our concert series was great this year. We had about 80 people in attendance average at each performance, which was cool. Halloween, we had almost 200 families inside, even though we were supposed to go outside. We had about 200 people here doing pumpkin carving, and we were gonna do this big pumpkin float and had to postpone that stuff till next year because of a terrible rainstorm. But it's okay. We had a really great, we had an awesome time. Egg hunt, we transitioned to use our trails on site. Another great turnout for people. So as far as we're concerned, our events have kind of resumed, and I think it's brought out a little bit more folks, which has been great. We also added flag football this year, and they got to play at Marston, which was awesome. Really great time there. We're excited to see that program grow. We did a Turkey Bowl Veterans Day tournament this year with our local teams, and we had a food truck there and great pictures at Marston, and we're excited to see that kind of beef up as we get the things in place there, like irrigation and those things. So that's super exciting. And then on the other end of the spectrum, our legacy lunches they took a little bit of a dip in the summertime. We had about 40 during COVID times with deliveries, and then summer schedules got a little bit busier. Legacy lunches now, we deliver and host in person, and we're about up to 15 people in person and still deliver about 15 lunches. So we're doing both, and we're getting to reach those folks that used to come that no longer can. So that population it's been awesome to be able to serve them through all of this, and again, have them in person too now. And then the last thing that I wanted to recap was Earth Fest. It went great this year. It was definitely a lower turnout. We kept it more local. We did it here instead of at the school, and it was a really great day, but it's an event that takes an awful lot of work, and with little volunteers and staff to kind of help make that run, it makes that event pretty hard, especially in September when it's kind of after summer camp, and yeah, it's a tough time of year. So, and I mentioned that again in my budget. We're gonna forego that event next year in support of the 300th events. And I can get into that when I kind of get to my program line. But yeah, that's a little bit of a recap. You want me to go through my lines, or?
Yes, please.
Perfect. So salary line, that is just, that's a line that holds myself, half of the assistant director salary, and our beach gate attendant. We used to have lifeguards in that line, and we haven't been able to hire guards in a few years, and with COVID, we closed the beach down and that kind of stuff. So that line is pretty self-explanatory. It's just our salaries in there. The beach gate attendant line, that's not a huge item. That's a very seasonal position from Labor Day until Memorial Day.
Is that a local resident that take care of it, or
Yep.
is there something that you take?
Nope, local resident. That is it. At the end of my budget, we actually have priced out what it would cost to install a gate, solar panel gate, and that is something that we anticipate that person possibly giving that job up. And with the hours that the gate is open, I don't have anybody at 7 o'clock to close the gate. it's one of those jobs that I think when we lose this magical person, that it will be really hard to staff for the future. So we kind of priced that out. It's a one-time cost, it's, you know, and then with solar panels, hopefully it works, but it is a pretty wooded area as well. So,
Sun's going down in the wrong direction.
what?
The sun's going down in the wrong direction.
Yes, yes. The good news with that, though, is that it's only needs to power the gate opening and closing twice a day. So the company we went through, and I don't have their name, but he basically was like, you don't need a lot of sun to power what you need it for. But of course, that's obviously a factor in it too. The other route would be bringing in electricity, which right now would be extremely high. The numbers that was given to me was around 30,000, which is crazy, to add power to that side of the road. So we figured solar would be a better way to go, and maybe trimming some trees to open that up a little bit more would be more cost effective than going into the route of bringing electricity in. So, the overtime salary, with things going back up and the staffing being low, that means Bridget has to work more. So that line, it wasn't used as much this past year, but it's something that I'd like to keep the same moving forward, for those office positions that need to be at programs and at program coverage. Postage stays the same. For the rec dues and conference line, with our third-time employee, our conferences have increased and trainings will increase as well to keep all of us up to date with CPR. We have our conference in January that is super beneficial. So that's a line that needs to increase a little bit so that we can cover that cost of that conference so that we can attend. Same with the rec training. We have CPR that we do through the fire department that has a cost. We do mental health trainings. If we do get lifeguards in the future, which we hope to do, again, that would be absorbed. The training piece is pretty expensive, so I'd like to keep it in the general budget line, but our lifeguards would be incorporated in our summer camp budget, which will be out of rec revolving. And those positions we figured would be more beneficial to have with our summer camp so that they are working with the kids, and the majority, we've made it through the last couple summers with use at your own risk, but I wouldn't want to bring a group of kids without a guard on site for our programs. So that's that line. Our rec, park, field, and beach maintenance line, which is a line we added last year. I was been talking with Hillside and with the addition of Marston. So the update with Marston is that we are hopefully going towards getting irrigation. The concrete is being installed, the shed is being delivered, irrigation is being set before this winter. So we're hoping that timeline stands, but with that being said, we only mowed Marston about half the amount of time that we would have mowed the other facilities here. So with the math that I did out for the softball field, baseball field, multi-purpose, the additional space that we played flag football on, and our trailhead, that's the number that we kind of came up with, the 23,000 number, and we would need to absorb the cost of seeding and fertilizing. That's something that I think fundraising funded last year, but that's something that as a town property, I feel is needed if we're gonna play rec sports on that, as well as NYA and strikers and other people who would like to use those fields. And right now too, Hillside is getting me firmer numbers, so I'll have a better number than what I kind of ballparked. But the cost of fertilizing and seeding has gone way up, just like everything else has. So that's definitely something that is gonna be a need moving forward, and we are working on I am working on an RFP for mowing. We haven't done that in a while, so to see, we'll put that out to the town to see what we have coming in. but that's kind of in the works right now, but that's the line we came up with for mowing. And that includes, you know, beach maintenance. We have a lot of overgrowth at the beach, and those facilities too need some attention as well, not just the mowing pieces. And so the next line is the rec equipment supply and maintenance line. Porta potties also went up, and we have porta potties during all seasons and through the summer months at the town facilities. We'll have to add more into Marston next year when we're playing. They'll probably, I'm hoping, we have baseball practices and stuff like that, which will need porta potties there as well. We do split the cost with NYA and strikers, which is great. So we pay during the soccer season and baseball season, we pay a third, and those organizations pay the 2/3. So it does bring the cost significantly down, but having more of them obviously will bring that cost up. We have also created a rotating needs list for equipment. I've noticed in the last couple of years, we have a lot of picnic tables that have been breaking, and we'll have to add trash cans to Marston and signage to Marston. So this is a great place, in my opinion, to kind of take those costs out of. The great thing about what we did last year, we were able to host those 2 community cleanup days at Marston. We're gonna try to join forces with NYA this year and strikers to kind of host an all-town cleanup and incorporate Marston here, the trails, and that, and do it all at once. A lot of other towns do that, and they can get a big number of people out and a lot of hands that can help. So, hoping they go for that. We meet with NYA and strikers in the next month to kind of set those details, but it's something that I've talked with NYA a lot about, kind of joining our forces, especially being that the community center and the garden spaces all kind of add to what they do as well. If I'm going too fast, please stop me. Okay. Software licensing, we ended up taking that back out, that we pay for our software with Rec Revolving. Rec program line is gonna stay the same. We are going to,
What's in there, Courtney?
rec programs are like our holiday events, our senior luncheons. We had Earth Fest come out of there. Anything that we do for free that the town can come and enjoy. So concert series come out of that line. We are going to, Earth Fest has turned into a bigger thing than what I think this town needs and wants. We want to kind of take a break from Earth Fest. It's also in September, which is right in the heart of when the 300th is doing their big thing in August. So to have that event and to have all of those, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. We want people to enjoy it, and we want to be able to support as well. So we're going to get rid of Earth Fest this year. We are going to try, of course, depending on staff, we want to add a 5K. We love the 5K that we did with that event. We have good participation. It makes people happy. It fits in with our health and wellness goals. So we're going to try to do something in the spring when it's off season from soccer and baseball season, so all the families can enjoy. So that, you know, I think will balance itself out. We want to use those funds to do other things. So, yeah. And office supplies went up just a little bit, with that addition of the 3rd employee, and, you know, we're using more ink, we're using more office-y stuff. We do a lot of old school marketing. That seems to be, we do a lot of flyers, we do a lot of postcards. So those types of office supplies kind of add up, and that's something that we realized, wow, we're spending more of that. And with the 3rd person, it's all of it, it just brought it up naturally. So that's that. And then the rec equipment line, we added in our beach gate, but this year we are using that money to work with the library to install a story walk in these trails out here. And it's gonna be a great story walk. It's gonna be legit. We have a Boy Scout who's helping us build it. So we're really excited about that. So, and that will kind of carry over with maintenance and ongoing maintenance that we hope to be able to use for the trails and that kind of stuff.
So you're talking about line 12,
Yep,
out of that 8,000, the 7,000,
is the gate. Yep.
I'm sorry, what's the impact of not having that, Courtney?
The impact would be, so we still, as of right now, have that employee, as far as I know, for next year. If we do not have that employee moving forward, it's going to be really difficult to staff that position. My office staff could probably open it on the way in, but we are also, that's right in the heart of summer camp. So we are scheduled out and we start summer camp at 7:30. So from 7:30 on, my team is pretty busy with camps and additional camps that we have. It's also closes at a hard time of night for us to have somebody here at 7 o'clock to close it up. And we've had a lot of feedback that people would want it open later if possible. So I think the alternative would be that without a gate and with no person opening the lock, the alternative would be to just keep it open all the time. And I think that would pose a lot of risk too.
There's also a problem with people putting in kayaks and stuff up there and,
Yes,
milfoil up in that area.
yes.
It's already been found.
Yeah.
Oh, I know, yeah.
Yeah, so people, I mean, even with us not having our staff,
with the gate.
no,
No,
We're putting it in anyways.
If there's no gate, it has an impact,
it does.
yeah.
I think, and we've have, through COVID with it being used at your own risk, we did find that we had a lot of people from out of town that were using the property, that we don't have the staff to watch it. And the police, I don't believe, have the staff to also patrol it as often as they would probably like to. So it's one of those things, I think we either have a solution for it, or, we do that use at your own risk type of thing, and we see what happens with that.
Okay, but for 2022, we have the person who has been doing it, has agreed to do it,
As of right now, yes,
okay.
but that could change. He has basically told me that it's possible that there's not many more years left that he's gonna wanna do this.
Okay.
He's been doing it for a long time. And I've tossed around the idea of doing a seasonal gatekeeper and stuff like that, but if we start monitoring just the gate and not having guards, it gets messy that way too, and I think we'd have to put more.
Guards.
Lifeguards,
Lifeguards.
sorry, yeah,
But that's not part of the rec equipment.
no, not that line. No,
right.
just the gate would be a part of that, yeah, so, right now, this is kind of in preparation.
Lifeguards wouldn't manage who goes into the state park, who goes into the beach. They wouldn't ask people for residence, would they?
No, they had in the past. When I took over, that was something that was kind of, it was asked of them to do, but it's not really their job. Their job is to watch the water.
Right,
So when I
exactly.
got here, I kind of changed that perspective, and you can't ask a 15-year-old
No, you can't.
to police the beach that way.
No, I wouldn't expect that.
Yeah.
Exactly, not,
Yeah,
I just wanna make sure we're talking, when we stay, what line we're on.
yeah,
that we're not
sorry, yeah,
Deferring different projects from people listening to us tonight.
yep.
What will prevent people though from just walking around the gate and going in? I mean,
It's a long walk.
It is a long walk, but
Yeah.
people do
Yeah,
that.
no, I know.
I've seen that a lot. Yeah, we went down one time and had to call 911. I mean, kids go down there all the time. And they swim to the island, and it's a risk.
Yeah.
It's a risk having that open all the time, in my opinion.
Hey Courtney, this is minor, but back on line 4 for dues and conferences, if you've got an addition of a third employee, why do dues and conferences pretty much double with one additional person?
Our conference has also gone up.
Okay,
So that's gone up pretty steadily, and sometimes it takes out, half of it takes out of 1 year, and the other half, they've changed it on us, so now we early bird pay for it in November.
okay.
Yeah,
do any of these numbers, have any, the position that we've talked about in town, someone that works for the recycling center and plow snow? Is that figured in this anywhere, that if this individual does come about, how you're going to use him or her, or?
yeah, and I think in the rec equipment supply and maintenance line, bringing that up to 6,000 gives us a little bit more room to do those minor projects that person would be able to help us with, like
that-
repainting and stuff like
Chris
that.
had kinda talked about the potential of somebody who was a shared resource between highway and rec, right?
Yep,
Yeah. But I just like, I look at Raymond for a rec department that, again, they have the town's, people that work at town, or whatever, they maintain the lawns, they do all
Yep.
that, I mean, so, I don't know if we get there someday, I hope, I mean, not that, what's his name, that, has done so much work for us, the
Yeah.
landscaper.
Yes.
I mean, I'd like to see, you know, him, maybe, you know, get some of his money that he's thrown into all of our stuff back by, you know, letting him work, but
Yeah,
maybe someday we'll have, you know, someone you want, that way we don't have to worry about it, that would be off, you don't have to consider it in your budget, it'd just be done for you every week or
Yeah.
whatever, you know?
should be awesome. It's a big expense to get it set up that way and to do it internally, but I think in the long run, when we have all the fields and when Marston's up and running, it makes sense to look towards that way. Cause we spend a lot of money in mowing, but it's just mowing and like the seasonal cleanup. There's a lot that we have relied on for volunteers that I'd love to see incorporate a little bit more, like the garden upkeep, and those are the things that are around our fields and ball fields that are pretty for people that come to enjoy it. Same with the trails. I think trail maintenance is, and we work really well with the Trails Committee, and just a quick update, I'm gonna derail for a second, but Celia and the Trails Committee has helped us. They blazed all of the Marston trails for us, which is really cool, and I have to get back with them, but hopefully get a kiosk down there as well, and
Nice.
and get that a little bit bigger so people see it's there, so
Yeah,
they can
very
use it. So, yeah.
Did you submit anything to Chris for like CIP wish list type items?
I did,
Okay,
yeah.
anything, I mean, we're gonna be going over that stuff tomorrow night, but since I have you here right now.
Yeah.
Any thoughts behind the requests?
Yeah,
Your
We have-
vision for those things?
we have a couple big-ish ones. Our gym floor is really bad. There's a really big crack in the middle of it, and it's very slippery for athletics.
Out here?
Yep,
Yeah.
right here. So that piece and removal of the rock wall is on my to-do list as well. It's super unsafe and a huge liability. So whether that kind of goes the CIP route or is that something that we look at for maintenance purposes, though that's a pretty big to-do list item.
I make a motion, we ban pickleball from the gym.
We can't ban pickleball.
And
I just did that for
He's
Steve.
not-
that was Tyler E.
So, you know, that's a pretty big priority for us as well. And then, I would love to see this paved area become a basketball court. Or something similar, even if it's just a repaved section of that with a couple of cemented hoops. We've had a backyard hoop that lasted like a couple months, cause kids just break it. But we had people play here all the time. And I think it's a central spot, and I know Marston, we have proposed courts, but that could be a little bit of time before we get those, and they're really expensive. So I think a repaving of this and a little bit of leveling to make it almost like a junior high size court with some permanent basketball hoops would be utilized a lot. So those two stick out to me. Another one is the community room repainting, but that stuff can kind of enter the maintenance line if that person were to exist.
Yeah.
Adding some storage shelving for us, we don't have any storage really. We've kind of overtaken the community room, but in recent weeks and months, we've had to, this town office is utilized a lot with groups like AA and stuff like that, and scouts, and we're hitting our capacity with groups, and we need to utilize the community room a little bit better and
What kind of
find a
stuff you putting
home.
in there?
I have tents, I have PPE, I have.
Stuff that needs to be in a controlled environment?
Yeah. Yep, paint, we used to store it in the back of the building and it just would all freeze and, yeah. And, you know, it's an old building, so critters and stuff like that get into it, so they have to be in tight containers, and a lot of craft supplies, and so it's been tough, and we kind of are at our capacity in the gym closet with stuff, and even with half of our things being at aftercare over at the school, so that's kind of where our CIPs are. Yeah.
All right, does anybody have any questions in general? Courtney, thank you very much.
Welcome.
Yeah, I don't have any questions. I will just throw out the caveat that be prepared for Chris to maybe come back and ask you to prioritize things,
Okay,
okay?
yep.
Because we, will likely ask for that.
Yes.
But, once again, thank you. You continue to do a great job.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
absolutely, thank you again.
Not again,
you.
lucky.
For both of you guys, really appreciate it.
Thanks.
I know the people in town do too, so.
Yeah. Thank you, guys, I appreciate it.
Thank
Thanks for coming in.
Have a good night, you guys. Have a good Thanksgiving.
Thanks, you guys too.
I didn't understand the rock wall.
The climbing wall in the gym.
That's what you meant.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
It's the wall in the gym that's made out of rock, Steve.
Yes.
I didn't look at the sheet.
Don't try to climb it. Don't climb it. Very loose. Thank you.
Good night, guys.
Thanks, good night.
Chief?
Yes, sir.
For everybody in town, Chief Bilchek, Nottingham Fire Department, thank you.
Do you need the projector, or you just read
Negative,
off?
no, these are my notes on here.
Okay.
I'm not sure, I'll open it in a second. Thanks, Steve. Yeah. I'm not sure what version you're working to as far as the fire department operating budget, because I'm out to a Rev B with Chris. So I'm gonna speak to my version, obviously, and it'll be obvious, there's like 3 changes that I could see, okay? I'm gonna dive right in here, if you don't mind.
Nope.
First line's full-time salary line. I'm showing 184,500, an increase of 54,500. Did you folks receive a backup sheet for that? For budget backup?
I don't see one.
Okay, we'll see if Chris can get that to you in the future. I have one copy here, I could speak to just briefly. The,
Wait a second. So what we have for proposed budget for 2022 on this one is 157,500.
correct, and it's been revised based on a backup sheet here that identifies what that cost is.
And what's it revised to?
It is 184,500.
What is it? That's right there.
$184,500. It reflects, and that's what the backup sheet is what you need to see to understand it. It reflects a strategy of 2/3 of the year, we're gonna go at the current level of manning, assuming that, once we received approval at, town meeting to hire an additional 3 full-time staff to go 24/7, 6 days a week, we would add additional 3 full-time staff for the last third of the year. Calendar, if it were approved in March, there's no way we would have the staff up to speed by then, so this shows a split year of, 2/3 at our current salary needs, and the last third at an increase, of 6 positions, and also a work week expanding from a scheduled 45 hours straight time to 48 hours. That strategy would be a 24-hour shift, one day on, 2 days off type of routine, similar to every other department that runs a full-time.
So that would be a total of 6.
That would be a total of 6, correct?
And what would that do to what is required for, management?
At this point,
If you had 6?
Right.
What would that mean in
it
terms
wouldn't
of?
be any different, because there were 2 people on at the same time.
No, I mean, supervision.
It wouldn't be any different than right now, because there'd be 2 people on a shift like there are right now. Okay, there wouldn't be 6 people on a shift, okay?
But,
The workload wouldn't be any greater in the short term, I'm telling you, it is right now that I'm managing right now,
So if there's 6 employees,
Yes.
regardless of what shifts they work,
correct?
you would still be the overall supervisor of all 6?
You got it.
Okay.
Right now, I manage at 365, 7 days a week, okay, 24 hours a day. We have people working 60 hours, our full-time staff has been working 60 hours a week.
Yeah, no, I
Okay.
get the hours, it's just the,
Okay, we've
it's
been
just
filling
the.
the other parts with per diem also, it's
Yeah, yeah,
been
no, I know,
managed by
I
me, so.
understand, I understand.
Okay. Okay, full-time, overtime, I'm showing an increase of 50%, that's the same as what you have in front of you. The average overtime rate is reflected on that sheet there in the notes, and that takes care of 333 hours of overtime, which would be approximately 6 hours per week of overtime.
And that would still be needed when we get to the point of having 6 people, there would still be a need for overtime?
Correct, there may be instances when there's a major call, when people have to stay over, okay, they'd work more than the 48. Their time and a half, this covers the time and a half portion, would kick in after 48 hours,
Okay.
okay? There may be a time when they have to come in or go to a class, or, you know, that covers that, okay? It wouldn't be scheduled overtime like right now. Part-time salary, I'm showing an increase to 55,000, which would, give us 500 hours, for full-time fills. And it would cover 2 per diem people to cover that Sunday. You notice that schedule I said was Monday through Saturday. A Sunday would still be a per diem shift, 2 people per diem to cover Sundays. Service contracts, just $1 and holder in that budget line. Stipend would remain 40,000. I just lost that, okay. When we migrated to a full-time, round-the-clock, I think that would be, we would sunset the stipend the following year, okay? We'd go to a salary type for the call personnel, we'd hourly compensation. We wouldn't have the need for a stipend anymore. There wouldn't be a a point system like we're paying right now. So, for call people that came out or came out on a call, they get paid an hourly rate, again, like most of the departments have migrated to. Chief salary is the same, $11,000 a year, that's your biggest bargain on here. Do I get a yay? Okay. All right, mileage stays the same. Actually, yes, mileage stays the same, no change. Postage,
Hey, Jay, is that mileage, don't take it the wrong way,
No,
is that mileage just for you, or do
negative,
on-call,
right?
on-call?
No, it's not for me.
For members?
Here's what it is, in the situation where the utility isn't available, if somebody's scheduled to go to class or a meeting or that sort of stuff, if they had to go to Concord, we
Got it.
reimburse them for the mileage.
Okay.
There's occasions when a full-time person, has to go for a physical or whatever, they use their vehicle or whatever, that reimburse them for that.
Got it,
That's
okay.
correct. That mileage, I do not get a penny out of that mileage.
Yeah, I just didn't know what it was.
I'm showing increase in postage, it's to cover what I expect the actuals to come in for this year. Breathing apparatus, again, I've got a $600 increase, and that's covering for inflation. Cost of PPE, supplies, everybody knows what that's doing to every one of us, I can't predict what the next order is gonna cost. Okay. Dues, I show a $150 increase to cover an increase in memberships that we maintain, like the NFPA, Seacoast Fire Chiefs Association. Publications, showing it the same. I just wanna highlight that, we didn't buy fire prevention, public service type material. That's the line that we used during COVID, because we really didn't have any open houses over the last year or so. Okay, so training, I'm showing the same, no changes. Protective gear, I'm showing an increase, and that would reflect the purchase of 4 additional structural fire ensembles for the new employees, okay?
So that's based on the assumption of 3 new.
Three new, yep, yep. And I have one, the reason it's 4 is I have one right now in cycle that's gonna expire. We replace them every 10 years in accordance with the NFPA guidelines.
Yeah.
So looking forward, I have one set of gear that's in service now that's gonna expire next year.
We're still on fire protection, right?
We're on protective gear.
Protective gear, sorry, yeah.
Yep.
I mean, just so people understand, that's suits and
Right,
full
boots,
fire
helmet,
suits,
gloves.
that gloves, the boots, the whole.
Roughly, now that's up to about $3,000.
Well, yeah, I just want when people understand what you're actually purchasing for that. It's not just we're buying a t-shirt, we're talking the real gear, okay. Yep.
That's true. Software licensing, this is probably a large change from what you see. I'm showing a $3,500 increase. And this all goes back to the fire incident reporting software that we've been using for the last 20 years. It was originally a Xerox product. It was sold out to another company called ESO. ESO came out and dropped the news that it's not gonna be serviceable. They're gonna retire it at the end of calendar year 2022. But they're having a new and improved version out there. You show a version, your budget probably shows a $10,000 increase in that line?
7750.
Okay, because the other one was 2,000 previous, but it's gone down. Anyway, ESO would migrate the old software, the data, to their new software package for about $10,000, which is $7,000 more than what we were paying them a year. So we did investigate other options out there, and there's another software package out there that some local departments have been using called Red Alert, that provides us the same capabilities that we have now with Firehouse, is that brand software. And our data, all our metrics and data from past years is all transferable. We wouldn't lose that data. It shows it's about a $6,000 cost the first year, and it goes down to about $2,500, which is comparable where Firehouse is. So some of that is startup costs for moving that data, okay? So,
Is one better than the other, is for the difference in price?
Red Alert gives us all the same capabilities. Red Alert was, Firehouse was competitive with Red Alert.
Yeah.
ESO, the company that owns Firehouse, came out and said it's not making, they're not making enough money on it to be able to support that function anymore. So they changed the front end on it, and they boosted the price.
Charge more money for it.
$10,000 to migrate and go to the next one is totally unacceptable.
I just know those
Yeah.
differences makes it easier for you to manage one, and one's more difficult to manage, is that's, you know, it's a
Actually,
cost difference.
the Red Alert is a lot more, we use a software robust and user-friendly than the old Firehouse. The old Firehouse is pretty primitive. It's pretty primitive software there, okay? Go ahead, I'm sorry.
So, just, can you tell me again, like, what is it?
Used for?
Yeah,
We have a requirement to report our monthly to the state, our incidents, and you have to categorize them in accordance with what the NFPA codes are for different incidents and property loss, injuries, that sort of stuff. And this is the reporting software that we use to report that information.
Yeah.
And also keep the metrics on all our calls also. We also keep such data as training records on there, maintenance records on the apparatus, and that sort of stuff.
cool,
So,
thank you.
Does that cover the ambulance call reporting to TEMSIS and all that?
Tempsys is a separate, that's a free application, web-based from the state. Tempsys, okay? Doesn't cover this. This is, okay? Our incidents are reported in fire, but the Tempsys is the actual medical portion of it.
Right.
And that's the state,
That's their,
free.
that's
Correct.
their app, okay.
They have the contract with the Tempsys people. It's a web-based, free software that we use, so. Okay. Vaccination and testing, shows an increase, 2,500, which would cover, full-time physicals. Okay. Uniforms and cleaning, another increase, which would show, the purchase of uniforms for the additional folks plus the existing. I think we're up to about 350, we allow $350 per year per full-time employee for for their station wear, which is, their uniform pants, job shirts, polo shirts, that sort of, their daily workwear. Office supplies the same. Equipment and office, this is another one I have highlighted that there's a difference from yours. It's actually, I believe it's reduced. I'm showing $1,500, a $500 increase. I'm not sure which version you have in front of you there. I think, here's what I'm gonna say. The version you have shows replacing one of our printers.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's gonna be taken care of out of this year's budget, okay? This year's budget with the different funding lines, it was one of the toughest years budgeting because of COVID, because of the overtime associated with it, so I guarded a lot of the budget lines. Now, as we're getting into the final stretch of the budget year, I see that I have room to cover, what the salaries overruns were, and I have money to cover that up, but to be able to cover that, printer replacement. Supplies and equipment remains the same. Just to give you an explanation, that covers, replacement hose, any type of tools that are, need to be replaced or new. Gasoline and diesel, anybody's guess, all I could tell you is I use about 1,500 gallons of diesel in the fire side a year, so, again, that's showing a $4. Worst case, don't know where the price is gonna end up, or did we peak, okay? Vehicle maintenance, I'm showing a $2,000 increase, and it's based on, okay, wear and tear on our apparatus and where we're at in terms of, inflationary costs for repair parts, the maintenance that's done. And I just wanna point out that out of that 15,000, 8,000 is already planned annual maintenance, things that are required, like, obviously, the oil changes, the inspections, the hose testing, the ladder testing, the pump testing requirements, there's $8,000 that's already, out of that line, that's already, committed for those recurring costs. Equipment maintenance, I'm showing a $2,100 increase, and that's the line that we use to cover, the 15 AEDs that we maintain throughout the town, and equipments. We maintain the AEDs that the PD have. We have AEDs in all our apparatus, AEDs in the public buildings, AED, the recycling center. Some of the churches have purchased AEDs, but we take care of the maintenance for them, along with State Park, and that's the safest, safest way to do it is we maintain them, meaning that monthly we do checks on them, we check for their batteries, replace their batteries as needed, and also pads. And what we're trying to avoid here is, we don't want the surprise that something's out of service,
Yep.
So it's kind of a risk reduction here that we've covered. So next year, there's a whole list of pads that are expiring, okay? So there's shelf life depending on the manufacturer and the type of pad, so that's why that's being bumped up. And there's also one AED that's at its end of life. It's been taken out of service this year. We were able to rotate one that wasn't being used year-round in its location, but we're looking to replace them. And we get the AEDs, just for record, from the state through, I wouldn't call it a grant, but the state has a almost like a GSA type contract, where we buy an AED for less than $1,000. I think it's around $900 now for an AED, which is a pretty good price, okay? Hydrant maintenance remains the same. Radio maintenance, I'm showing a $500 increase in radio maintenance. Telephone, remains the same. Internet, I'm showing a big increase in internet based on what the numbers were that show up on the budget summary. I don't, again, if you have any specific questions, I'd have to go to Betsy. Betsy pays the internet and the phone bills directly. I don't see those bills, so. Okay.
Did Chris say he was showing those numbers differently this year? I can't remember.
I don't remember, but that seems extreme.
That,
So it could just be a matter of the way it's notated.
That's what, he said something
Yeah.
like that. I
I
think we
don't see
have
the
to
bill,
check
so
on
I
that.
can't.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we can have Chris ask Betsy for
The
a
same thing,
breakdown on
same
that.
thing with the phones, okay? I know the phone bills. There are some cell phones that are
He's
involved in
doing
there,
something
but,
different with those,
okay.
I think, yeah. Okay,
Miscellaneous, the same, $300. Hazmat, I'm showing the same, $1,300. That covers our dues to, the Seacoast, hazardous team out of Seacoast Chiefs, START team it's called, Technical Assistance Resource Team. Forest Fire, I'm showing the same.
What is forest fire?
Okay, if there's a okay, we buy equipment out of it at the end of the year if there's a surplus typically. But if there is a fire on, in Pawtucket, we have to pay the other mutual aid departments a portion of what the extinguishment costs, seriously. That's happened in the past, you can go look in records probably 5 years ago, where we had a fire on Middle Mountain, and we ended up paying what the state rates are. The town pays half of what the charges are for extinguishing
specifically for forest fires?
forest fires,
And why is
correct.
that, Jay?
That's the way the law is, that's the way the forest laws are.
Huh,
Okay, and I
interesting.
didn't make that, it's been there for a long time, so we
Yeah.
keep that $2,000 in there as a wedge. I've been chief 15 years, and, I know of one time, and there may have been two earlier that we had to pay other towns like, Deerfield and mutual aid towns that came out. They submit a bill to us for their manpower, based on what the town's rates are, equipment, we pay half, and the state pays the other half for it, so, it's not something new, it's maybe some archaic RSA thing, but that's the way and that's there. It gives us some buffer to be able to cover it, and it also, leaves that line there.
What did we spend the 240 on? Cause
Say again, I'm sorry?
it says we spent $240.
Correct, cause I bought some equipment, and I'm trying to think what kind of hand tool it was earlier in the year.
Oh, for that.
Exactly.
For that purpose?
Yes, it was wildland
okay.
tools,
Okay.
okay, and at the end of the year, if there's money left in the overall budget, that's what we use to buy wildland equipment,
yeah,
okay?
yeah.
Sort of stuff, okay? You see the big increase, and it's based on the strategy of going full-time, 24 hours a day, 6 days a week, 365.
Yeah.
And before you say, what's the impact not doing it, it's probably a reduction in service, okay? Reduction in service, because we're at critical mass. I've been here before with the way of doing business in the past isn't working anymore, okay? And we're not alone in that either, okay? Neighboring towns, you can go query them, most of the neighboring towns are running 24-hour shifts, either with full-time or per diem people, and that seems to be the big draw with having people come in.
Do
and
you
work.
think going to, and again, it's budgetary why I'm asking the question, is that,
Yeah,
is there a set rate? So like if Barrington has a full-time police department, right? I mean, fire department. Is our guys here gonna get the same as prices that we pay them? Is there like a standard rate between what firefighters make from town to town, or is it?
it varies from town to town. There's a lot of undercutting
Well-
going on right now.
Well, this is, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to lead you, but the question is I'm leading to is, our police department has been used as years as stepping stones. People come here, we pay for them to go to the training, they do all the training through us, and then hopefully we get 2 or 3 years, but then they're to Dover, Concord, Portsmouth, where they start making the biggest. Is that, do you see that could be a case for us? Cause how much does it cost for us, the town, for us to put somebody through fire training? If they come work for us, say, we're gonna make you a full-time, they have to go to the academy, I take it, they have to go through all that.
We won't hire anybody with less than fire one. They have to take fire, they have to be fire two in the first year, and they're usually are fire two, but we don't normally pay for that level of training.
Okay.
That's already taken care of.
We come to you with that training.
Yes,
So we're
exactly.
gonna
That's
hire-
our minimum requirement, so.
Right, okay, so you're just take a green, just.
Yep, we don't take somebody right off the street, that's for sure. And the other thing is, we don't hire just firefighters as a minimum. You have to come in with an EMT, at least an EMT license. That's the basic level that we hire. Advanced is better, but EMT, we won't hire somebody, it's not an EMT, not a licensed provider, okay?
Right, so we're starting off at a pretty good salary rate for somebody that comes in.
In today's world, it's not really, okay, that's something we're looking at, and, you know, we're trying to incentivize
We're gonna
and
be
pay our
competitive.
good people, you know,
Right.
we don't have a lot of people, but we're paying
Yeah.
our good people to have them, retain them, okay? And, hopefully that'll work, and Stepping Stone, we've been to Stepping Stone, I can go through the departments and tell you, like on Portsmouth, we have 2 people that started out here, Dover, there were 3 people that started out here, and
Right.
we keep on going, Manchester,
Oh, of
there's
course.
2 people that started here.
Right.
Merrimack, there's 1 person that started, I keep going, Concord, there's
Sure.
1 person that started here. You know,
I was just curious if I didn't know that if we don't have to take the training, that initial cost, like, everybody that starts here, we send them to the police academy, which costs.
it's the investment in time, too. 'Cause
Right,
when they come
exactly,
in and we
100%,
run
right.
them through a probationary period, and we train them, you know, to what our expectations are, our equipment, our talent, and then they bolt. And then the thing I wanted to highlight is that used to be 2 years, and I always said 3-year return on investment was something would be good. I've had people that come and work for us for 6 months that got picked up by the boutique departments, the Durhams, the Portsmouths, after 6 months on the job. Okay, that's how competitive, it's,
Absolutely.
there's a lot of openings out there, you look out there, it's a tough market right now. Smaller towns that are dealing with the same situation us of hiring, you know, incoming, you know, people, they've gone to a 24-hour type rotation, and, seems like it's helped them out, it's helped them out on their calls, I know that too, so that's that part. Okay. CIP question, warrant article type question. Okay, CIP for 2022, there were 3 items in there. 1 covers the full-time, that was a heads up that we're looking to go, increase our full-time staff. The second one was buying an additional ambulance, okay, we spoke to this briefly. There's, $281,000 for a new ambulance is the 2022 expected price as of now. That would come out of the ambulance billing fund. There would be no cost to the taxpayers. We're looking, you know, we're gonna request that we purchase an additional ambulance. Okay?
How much does it cost?
$281,000 is an estimate for the ambulance. That's the rig itself.
So we'll have 2 active ambulances.
Correct,
Instead of
correct.
1.
Correct. And what that does, again, it gives us a backup. Right now, we have 1 ambulance. I can give you answers. You say, how often do we have back-to-back calls? I could say more frequent. I can come in here with the data and tell you. It was as much as yesterday that, you know, we had to have a mutual aid ambulance come in to cover. We had 1 call. The ambulance was transported to the Elliott Hospital, and the second call came in, so we had to pull mutual aid. And if anybody ever listens to Scannerland out there, you'll tell our tempo, the tempo in the whole area has increased. We're at 595 calls as of right now when that tone went off right there. Last year, we were 526 for the year. We're gonna easily, obviously, go over 600 calls this year. We've seen the tempo increase. Yeah, it's increased, that's for sure. There's been times like the weekend here, we've had 7 calls over the weekend, 3 and 4 a day, so it's, you know, you can't predict it.
And the new full-time fire department
Yeah.
guys will also be our EMTs for those ambulances, right?
Correct, that would be the first due crew, 2 people on, they'd run that first ambulance, so we'd have an ambulance there for call people for the second call, okay? It changes the way we're operating, but, it also gives us it reduces that risk with that 1 ambulance. Our current ambulance, 2017, I'm not looking to get rid of it, I'm not looking to trade it in yet. I said when we bought it that we were gonna hold on to this one as long as possible, because it's a diesel 4-wheel drive, it cost us a lot of money. It's got 53,000 miles on it, not a lot of miles. It needs some maintenance. It needs some paint work done to it, believe it or not, now in the box, okay? And it's got a couple, emission type things that need to get taken care of. What that involves is taking it out of service for a period of time, and then we would have an ambulance, okay? There's nothing safety related with any of that stuff that needs to be done. Obviously, if it's safety related, it gets done, gets taken care of, but it gives us some more flexibility instead of having just 1 ambulance.
And longevity out of the equipment.
We're able to rotate it. Now, I wanna be upfront with you that $280,000 is the cost of the vehicle. There's another $80,000 or so in equipment, but the strategy is to use the McLean Trust Fund balance to pay for that, which is another non-taxpayer. We're not looking you know, taxpayer, this is already, this is all, that the funds are already in place to purchase, okay? So, you know, that's what the strategy is for, okay?
Hey, Jay, if we don't get, 3 additional full-time staff, does it still?
I'd still go for an
You'd still want
ambulance,
the
still go
ambulance?
for an ambulance,
Okay.
because we need to relieve some of that pressure on having one
Got
ambulance,
it.
okay?
Okay.
There, I give you another, for instance, a motor vehicle accident, things like that, that aren't weak, 2 ambulances would definitely help, okay?
Sure, especially multi-cars, multi-people.
And again, you know, ask, what are the other towns doing? Again, Northwood, Stratford, Barrington, Epping, for sure, Epping is the metropolis nowadays, they all got multiple ambulances, they're not.
Northwood does?
Okay. Northwood has 2, they have 2 in service.
Yep.
Barrington's got 2, Stratford's got 2 in service, okay? Okay, so I think it's time, and like I said, the big thing here is, it's not, we're not gonna ask the taxpayers to pay for this additional,
Yep.
No?
it's already paid for. So that's number 2 of the 3 CIP warrant articles. There's actually 4. The third one is $100,000, the $100,000 capital reserve deposit, again, okay, keep it level funded for $100,000. And the last one is $32,953 ambulance expenses, $33,000, again, coming out of the ambulance fund to pay for the operating costs of 2 ambulances. That's why this has gone up also for next year, because of, you know, increased cost. Maintenance, fuel, supplies all come out of there. They've been coming out of there for the last 13, 14 years or so, so that's that. And there's enough money in that fund to cover it again, so.
Okay.
That's that.
Everybody good?
Hey, just a quick, emergency management,
Yes,
that's in here too.
I don't, I'll pick it up. to see.
So, I mean, there's, it's not.
There's an increase of $500 in the one equipment line. I could speak.
Yep, that's the Nixle subscription and the electronic signboard.
Right, that was to share the cost with the PD. I talked to Chief Woodman in one of our EM emergency management meetings.
Yep.
We have them quarterly, we have a meeting, and she had indicated that she was thinking about going for this new piece of equipment here, and I thought that would be something that we could partner with, and it would have value for emergency management overall. Not necessarily, she would manage it, she would operate it just like the Nixle portion of it,
Yep.
but it falls under, you know, some of the uses would be beyond, you know, in addition to the PD type use, if
Okay.
we needed. So that's where that addition, other than that, the
Okay.
budget's the same as last year.
Well, the increase in salary,
I didn't see that,
okay, never mind then.
okay? Didn't see that, that's not mine.
Okay.
I didn't put that in there.
Okay,
I would've, I wouldn't be able to talk to it if I knew about it, so,
okay,
okay.
cool. I'm good, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thanks for
Chief,
coming
for
in,
this.
Chief.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
This item for CIP, was it 6 full-time?
It was the additional 3
Three.
full-time, additional 3. Additional 3. I got something going on my left knee.
Have a good night, Jay.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you very much.
One thing that was brought up that I'd like to say is the Conservation Commission, and again, we can discuss this, but I just wanna bring it up, was having our scenic roads, having signatures on their signs that state that they are scenic roads.
I thought we were working on that before.
Again, yeah, it seems like, from what I was told from them, it hit a standstill, and we haven't made. But whether, I don't know if it was because of money, this is something we're gonna have to discuss with
We'll have to
Chris.
talk to Chris, yeah.
But just to bring it up, and for the public record, that I am bringing it up for the Conservation Commission, about the fact of the scenic roads, being listed, or, you know, having something that
Fine,
says
yeah.
scenic road.
Yeah, an actual marker.
Right, since we know why it's a scenic road. Right, we don't have it in ours, so that's something they wanted me to bring up, so I wanted to,
They're pretty.
right, so, just brought that up there.
So noted.
I don't know if this is me, this is for the chairman, this was dated November 8th. Did you guys discuss this next meeting, November 18th, on the bridge?
Oh, yeah, that was the other night,
Okay,
last week, last Thursday.
I wasn't
Thursday.
around,
so,
It was
yeah.
Thursday, yeah, yep.
Anybody wanna comment about it, anybody know anything about it, or?
The only thing we saw that the police chief sent a letter to them indicating that she was wholly against them closing the road entirely,
Okay.
so. I
We've
know-
had previous discussions about that, past
Yeah,
meetings
she had
about it,
told
okay.
us that before too.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Well, the rumor I had heard was that it's not gonna be done this year, but 2024, and at one point they will close it for 30 days. That was the rumor.
Oh,
Yeah, that's what they had hoped to do,
Oh.
but for a host of public safety, life safety reasons, it's not practical to close that road off entirely.
Okay.
the state
So
origin,
that's the core of the, you know, or at least that's one element of the discussion right now.
so,
They wanna close it down, and
right, they wanna close it for 30 days, get
No.
it done, and we,
Yeah.
we, 2 years, and they give us different proposals, right? Wasn't like 3 different
Yeah.
plans, or something like that they had in front of us, so.
Yeah.
All right, we will be going, Steve,
Before you go to non-public session, I would like to note, not for the record, but just to remind people of today, November 22nd.
John F. Kennedy.
Kennedy was assassinated 15 years ago today. I just think it's just to remember that event.
not a great day for us, but,
No, it wasn't a great.
No. I'll make a motion, we go into non-public per RSA 91-A:3, 2A and E.
we have a motion, second, roll call.
I, Donna Danus.
hi, Tony Dumas.
Hi, John Moran.
Hey, Tyler Eaton.
Well, after, our non-public, we will immediately recess this meeting, not recess, we'll,
Turn off the television.
Yeah.
right.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Steve.
And close this meeting. Good night, Nottingham, have a good Thanksgiving.